Hello and welcome to another episode of the Optimize Show. I am David Mammano, your host. We are interviewing our areas, our communities, incredible leaders, helping the community to be a better place. And these interviews are tremendous because I'm able to extract some great best practices from some incredible people optimizing their business, their people, their life. And today I have on the show someone that's going to bring this show, as he has Rochester, to a new level. Soccer Sam Fantauzzo, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah. Well, you are, you know what? If Rochester had like just a celebrity, a mascot, it's you.
Oh, wow.
You know?
Thank you.
I mean, everybody knows Soccer Sam, and in the way you say, Salvatore. I mean, it's you and your restaurants. I'm going to say not just Salvatore's, because you have Donuts Delight, you have Arthur Treacher's, right? Mm-hmm. They're an institution in Rochester. They're part of our DNA.
Thank you.
So no, thank you. I mean, you go to other cities, and they really don't have a lot of what happens in Rochester to like these long-standing people and institutions. I tell people that we have on the radio, we have like Brother Weeze, Scott Spezzano, et cetera. We have DJs that have been on the air since the 80s. Right? And they're still here. Like, you don't have that. Don Alhart just is retiring, right? He's been on the air for what, 50-something years? Right? And then there's people like you that are kind of like business celebrities that really been doing it since the 70s, right? Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for making Rochester a better place.
I love my city.
Yeah, it is. You really are ingrained in the fabric of what's going on in Rochester. So, I mean, if someone has not had Salvatore's Pizza, they really have not lived in Rochester for too long, right?
Right. You would think if they, since '78, I'm sure it's somewhere or another they've tried it.
Yeah. So I went online before this, and I just Googled your name, and this great part of your website came up that gave like the history of you and what you've been doing since 1974, working with your Uncle Fred, was it? Yep. And I'd love to hear. I mean, we don't have 6 hours, but I would love to kind of hear kind of an abbreviated version of your journey of how you got started and what you've been doing. I mean, you're not only involved with pizza, with the Salvatore's Pizzeria, old-fashioned pizzeria. You now have Donuts Delight, which we love, and of course the cannoli donut, right? Forget about it. And then you brought back Arthur Treacher's, which was, I grew up in Pittsburgh, but right on the edge of East Rochester and Fairport. Yeah. And right near Country Club Plaza. Right. There was an Arthur Treacher's there when I was growing up. And I loved it. And it was gone. And then you brought it back. So thanks for doing that too.
Happy to do it. It's fun.
Yep. So kind of, bring us back to when you got into business and growing it from there.
Well, you mentioned the Fred's Meat Market. It's a huge part of my life. I think I was 12 years old. My dad had a heart attack. Back then, there wasn't this free money coming in. So, my uncle calls me up to see how my dad's doing. He's like, hey, you need a job? Let me know. And I'm like, yeah, I need a job. Yeah. Well, next thing I know, I'm 12 years old. I worked there every night from 4 to 9 and double shifts on Saturday, double shifts on Sunday, from 12 to like 16. And when I was 16 years old, he goes to Italy for his family. I ran the store and I learned everything, you need to learn to run a business. Employee management. I was a lot younger than some of the key butchers and guys that have been there for years. Well, the bottom line is Fred and I had an agreement where we're going to open a pizzeria in this little grocery store eventually. Yeah. And when he came back from Italy, he decided that wasn't the direction he wanted to go in. Mm-hmm. I said, you know what? Well, this is what I want to do. Pulling out of the parking lot, I see a for rent sign, shoe store across the street. Negotiate with the lady at 11 o'clock at night. An amazing lease, $200 a month, no money down till you open. Wow. And I didn't want Fred to know or my parents to know. My parents wanted me to graduate, and I didn't think I was going to graduate because I was going to open up this business. Bottom line is my parents eventually found out, Fred eventually found out. He was very supportive. My parents were very supportive. But the deal was I had to graduate. So I graduated, but come in that whole graduation period, my senior year, home ec class, Mrs. Paquette, who just recently passed away, we did a thing on business. And my group, we did pizza. So I went around to these different pizzerias and found out where they buy their products, what ovens they use, what products they use. So I brought all that into my new Salvatore's adventure. We obviously didn't do any business for years. I was a Pac-Man pro. I'd play all the kids in the neighborhood with Pac-Man to make money. If they beat me, they'd get a free pizza. They couldn't beat me, but at the end of the week, the guy would empty the machine. I'd get all this money.
Right.
I was like, I'd pay my bills. And until 1983, when my wife, at the time I was married again, I got married. My wife says, "Hey, we're pregnant." I didn't take it serious, and then something clicked.
Yeah.
And luckily for me, at the same time period, there was a pizza convention in Las Vegas. I'm sorry, in Florida. Now they're in Vegas.
Yeah.
The first one was in Florida. I go to it with my future brother-in-law, and there was things that we have never seen in Rochester, from mozzarella sticks to chicken fingers to boneless wings and things that we never heard of yet in our city. And I figured out a way to get them here and added it to my full menu, because at the time there was some stronghold pizzerias that had a great reputation. So it was tough to get the business away from them. But with the full menu, I was slowly grabbing some customers. And then I got the best thing that ever happened in my life in business was there was a gentleman coming in every day for lunch, well-dressed man. I figured he was a lawyer maybe. Well, he was Andrew Langston, who started DKX Radio, and got to know him a little bit. We did a trade for pizza for advertising. Next thing you know, more people were coming in. Some guy was coming in the afternoon, picking up a sub, and then people tell me, "Hey, I heard about your sub on the radio." I'm like, what radio? What are you talking about? Well, that guy that lived across the street in an apartment, his name was Brother Weeze, and he was doing overnights. And so he started talking about us.
Oh, wow.
And I immediately realized the power of advertising. So I had no money, but I risked it all on just advertising. And immediately we started doing radio ads, TV ads, and it just, back then, pizzerias were like lawyers back then. They didn't advertise like that. We just went crazy on radio, TV, and then it just exploded.
When did you start doing your iconic Salvatore's?
So before Salvatores.com, it was just Salvatore's, because the whole soccer thing, I'm a soccer character. I love soccer. I'd be with soccer ball and a pizza in a hand. I go, Salvatore's. Well, then when a good friend of mine, Mike Moran, told us about this new thing coming out, the internet and .coms and all that, he's the one that locked in Salvatores.com. And so I remember the computer company basically said, or the online ordering company said, "How are you going to market this? It's going to take forever." So I got an idea. So we just went Salvatores.com. So in the beginning, people didn't know what that meant. What is that? I've run into hundreds of people that have told me they moved to Rochester and they hear Salvatores.com and they go to it and realize it's a pizzeria. They don't know what it is. But it took off, and our online orders are amazing. We do crazy amount of customers a week. We do 30,000 customers a week right now.
Wow.
Probably 80% of it is online ordering, which helps.
80%.
80%. It's crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
And I got lucky. A lot of my original employees that were working for me as kids. When they got old enough, they wanted to open their own stores, and that's how we started. And then we kept that momentum going. When an employee had a little money or they wanted to do it, we helped them out. And now all our stores, almost every single one of them, are owned and operated by former employees or former customers.
How many stores do you have now?
33 with our outlets.
That's just Salvatore's.
That's Salvatore's, And some of the Salvatore's have Arthur Treacher's in them, and some of the Salvatore's have Donuts Delight in them. We just opened up in Jacksonville, Florida. A doctor, he's the nephew of a good friend of mine, calls me up, says, "I want to bring Salvatore's to Jacksonville." I'm thinking, what's this doctor want to do a pizza for? Come on, man, you're a doctor. Bottom line, I tried everything I could to discourage him. He went for it. He's killing it. He's going to open up 10 stores in 5 years. Wow. We're doing North Carolina and South Carolina right now, same deal with another person, local person, Vince Petrone. He's going to do 10 in 5 years, and then that market. We're talking to a guy in Dallas right now, and a guy in South Florida. So that's my job right now, is I'm handling the expansion part of it. Kayla Clark Kent Marrera handles the business side of Salvatore's. My son Silvio handles the pizza side of it, and I'm just learning how to more about franchising, going national, going to trade shows, and trying to get our brand out there. It's our future.
You're still learning.
I'm learning. I love learning.
Right. So that's what I was going to ask. So when you started expanding, was it corporate expansion, and now have you moved into franchising as well?
So in the early days, I owned like 7 of the stores myself, and then I realized how hard it was, and then I started selling the stores to existing managers. That's where the whole back then it was a license agreement, and you know, we did a license agreement, figured it out. Then we eventually got a franchise license. But right now we are franchised in those states, and it's a lot to learn. And you know, we all have brothers and sisters and cousins that we don't always see eye to eye and everything. Imagine bringing 30 plus people together from different religious backgrounds, different family mindsets, and get them all to believe in the same thing. It's a challenge, but we use the whole team mentality. It's like you're on a team, man. This is what the coach says, this is what we do. This is what the quarterback says, this is what you got to make happen. You need a really good wide receiver, you know, and you know, who's my Tom Brady today? Let's go, man. Let's make this. Let's win this baby.
And then you look in the mirror, you're like, oh, I'm the Tom Brady, right? Or the Josh Allen. And so we kind of skipped over. I mean, like you open up that first store, you know, when did you start doing the second, third, fourth stores? And how was that for you? Because you're still a pretty young kid, right?
Yeah, so I was pretty immature, and I was in 1978. I was 17 when I opened. A few years later, I got into pro wrestling. My girlfriend at the time was a hairdresser, and the kid we went to high school with was a pro wrestler. She's like, hey, I'm doing this Tim Reed's hair, and he's a pro wrestler now, so I love wrestling. So I go meet Tim Reed. Next thing you know, I'm on this wrestling tour. I'm Dr. Love. She's my nurse, Nurse Nice Lips. We're wrestling. I got this pizzeria. My 14-year-old brother's running it. My 15-year-old cousin. I'm thinking, you know, we're just struggling to get by, you know, trying to pay the bills, you know, hoping our genie doesn't come to turn you off, hiding the car, thinking they're going to repo it, hide up the street because, you know, we're 3 months behind the car payment. And I was just trying to figure it all out. And like I said, you know, Pac-Man kept me alive, the video game with neighborhood kids. But eventually, when we started adding the full menu and the advertising took off, my brother and my cousin John were my oldest employees. They wanted to open up a store. Hey, we're about to graduate. We can't work for you forever. What do we do? So we found a bar called Chadwick's, and we opened up in the kitchen of Chadwick's in Irondequoit. And now today that's the garage door, which is one of our busiest stores in our company. And then we just, you know, we went to Lake Avenue, and same thing, an employee that was managing Main Street wanted to open up Lake Avenue, and it just grew from there.
Does it ever seem manageable, or are you always kind of on the edge of like, are you thriving on the chaos? Maybe that's a better way to say it.
Well, I mean, honestly, I'm blessed with some great people right now. I mean, for years I've had a young lady, Ashley King, and Kayla Marrera. They started with me in 2011 with my soccer team. One came out of Fisher for sports management. The other one came out of Geneseo, and on her resume, way at the bottom, it said, I sold merchandise to Blue Cross Arena, and I was looking for a merchandise girl.
Oh, wow.
Well, I had no idea how intelligent both these people were. And since that, I would say since 2011, my life has been simple business-wise. They have all the tools that I don't have, so they do all the business stuff. They're real intelligent. They just rip things apart. They know how to market. They handle all that stuff. And I just do my thing. I do, you know, they give me a script, I do the ads. They give me a script, I do the radio ads, I do the TV ads, I do stuff like this, and obviously I'm focusing on, you know, going national. I think that's our growth pattern. We can't open any more stores in Rochester. We're at our max, I think. We can open a couple more. We're opening one, and maybe not too far from here. It hasn't been announced yet, Bushnell's Basin. And maybe Geneseo. We're talking right now in Geneva, but after that, we're pretty much tapped out. So how do we get our second and third generation, you know, want to be in this business? So we have to go out of state to make it happen, and we're doing that.
I mean, do you have a vision that this is going to be like as big as Domino's type of thing someday, except like just better quality? Right?
I mean, I would like to be maybe not as big as Domino's, but you know. I don't want to ever lose the control of our quality and everything that we're doing, and it's difficult. We learned that with the Florida expansion, getting product from all our products from Palmer's Foods in Rochester, New York. I'm a Rochester guy. We buy everything from Palmer's, and Palmer's is our main distribution center. That's our commissary for all our products. So we have to ship that to Florida, and it's been, you know, a learning experience. So we know we can handle Florida. We know we can handle Carolina. We're not sure about Dallas yet, how we're going to handle that if that happens. But it's a learning curve. But I'd say if we could hit 1,000 stores, you know, if I could hit 1,000 stores before I die, I'd be really happy.
That is awesome. You'll do it. I know you'll do it.
I'm going to try.
So your nickname is Soccer Sam.
Yes.
Tell us about that, because you're obviously very passionate about soccer, been very involved in soccer, bringing back the Lancers, right? Yeah. So tell us about the whole soccer. I mean, it's a whole nother kind of bucket of your life, right?
Yeah, I mean, I played soccer all my life. 17 years old, same time around when I was opening up Salvatore's. I was playing in an adult league, and I was the only person that was dumb enough to accept the role as the commissioner. Yeah. So I become commissioner of this 18-team league, and next thing you know, cable access is coming around. Nobody knew what it was at the time. What's cable TV? What's that going to be about? So I knew the guy, met the guy, and I said, hey, can we do a weekly soccer game on your cable access? So I do the game, I show up, and I get these bad headaches, so my left eye would always close, so I'd wear sunglasses. So I have my sunglasses on, and that's how the whole sunglass persona thing came in. And I started acting like a 12-year-old on, that needed Ritalin, and like, yeah, soccer, like, there's a goal, I want to go. Like, I had nicknames for everyone. And I thought, what better way to promote soccer that most people don't like or don't like to watch, but let's make it more entertaining on the camera, on the audio side with the play-by-play and the color commentary. That's what we did. Next thing you know, I started doing stuff with the Buffalo Blizzard in Buffalo, New York with indoor soccer. Next thing you know, the Rhinos are coming to town. I got involved with them. I became a minority owner. I helped save the team in 2008. And then I had a little break in my life for a few years. And then in 2011, I had owned the Lancer name and logo for years because that was my team as a kid. I never missed a game. And I just had in my office this plaque, logo and name, I owned it. I had a lawyer and I said, hey, look up Rochester Lancers. Nobody owned it. Okay, I'll take it. And I had to pay every year and, sell some stuff online to kind of keep the thing going. So in 2011, a good friend of mine that used to own the Rhinos said, hey, we're doing this indoor league. Why don't you join Blue Cross Arena? And boom, it took off. Again, I met Ashley and Kayla and Rich Randall. They handled the business side of things, and I didn't know a lot of that about that at the time. And we became the most successful indoor team in the history of that era. 7,000 to 8,000 fans a game. Eventually, the Pagulas bought the Blue Cross Arena. They didn't want any other sports tenants in there. We left. We went to the Dome. That became a COVID vaccine site, and we lost that. So now we're kind of like getting by at TSC right now, but we're looking for a new home. But I love what I do. Indoor soccer is my passion. I like outdoor soccer. I don't miss an Inter Miami game. Messi and company. I'm a nut. I love that team, but I'm still a soccer nut. But soccer is the only thing, and I don't know what your thing is, but no matter what I do, I'm thinking work. If I'm working out, like my wife said, well, go see a trainer. Like I get there and that's all I'm thinking about. Today I got to call this guy. I got to go meet David. It's like where soccer, my brain shuts down because I'm studying the game, and it's just the most relaxing thing for me.
Therapeutic.
So that's why I love soccer so much.
I love it. And for those of you not from Rochester or too young to remember, I mean, the Lancers was like our team up until what, the early 80s?
1980, they left.
They left. So I grew up here, so I remember going to Hollander Stadium and watching them as a kid, which is no longer there, unfortunately, right? So, so it's just so great from a nostalgia perspective to hear the Lancers name again,
it was amazing. When it was available, I was like, they drew 70. They're the biggest crowd in the history of a Rochester sports team. 22,000 fans at the stadium you just said. Hollander Stadium. And then they played at the Cosmos in New Jersey, 77,000 fans. So no Rochester team's ever played in front of that many people. And it was on fire. Pelé, Beckenbauer, the greatest players in the world came to America. Kind of what's happening right now in Inter Miami. And unfortunately, the Lancers couldn't keep up with it. We didn't have the facility, we didn't have the money guys behind it, and it's just left. And I'm just happy to keep it going.
It was a shame. So. So I also want to bring up, you mentioned a break in the action. You've had some tough times too, right? Reading your journey, and I remember hearing about it. You had a big weight loss, and then you had a stroke because of it, and that was kind of an unplanned pit stop for your life, right?
Kind of.
And that's obviously a very tough thing. But you battled back from that, and how has that affected everything?
Well, I mean. In 2008, I was 400 pounds basically, and I strongly recommend anyone that has tried every diet and it doesn't work, gastric bypass is the way to go. The challenge that I had back then is that my primary and the surgeon weren't communicating. So they both basically were giving me things that they shouldn't have been giving me. And at the time, That's changed now, and I'll take a little bit of responsibility to that.
Yeah.
Now different hospital groups do communicate. Their computers communicate a little bit better than they did back then. So basically, I bled internally, and when you bleed internally, you lose oxygen in your brain.
Yeah.
So I say stroke; it's just easier to say, but basically, I lost oxygen in my brain. Some people think it was 10 minutes. People tell you it's impossible, but when I came through, I didn't know who was around me, and I lost my total past memory.
Yeah.
Everything you can imagine, I had to relearn. And I, at first, one of my therapists said, "Hey, make it fun. Make it like, learning is fun." And I did, and and that's all I would do is just learn, like how to learn how to read, learn how to write, use the computer, use the phone. And a lot of what I learned is when you go through something like that, we have so many lights in our brain. Obviously, all your lights are bright. Well, mine, half are bright and half are either off or dim. So I would just focus on the bright lights.
Yeah.
So that's all I do right now. I focus on the bright lights.
Yeah.
There's stuff that I don't even attempt to figure out or learn because it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I focus on. And so that was a learning, a big learning curve and a little break in the action. And at the time, I had just turned the Rhinos around. 2008, 2009, got people back to the stadium that nobody wants to go to.
Yeah.
We did the concessions, and then I was going to take a 2-week break in the action, thinking, hey, I got to do something here. I'm getting too big, having lunch 3 times a day. I mean, when I sweat, I smell like bacon. It was awful. I invented button fly jeans. When I sat down, the buttons went flying.
The button fly?
Boom. But,
that's good.
yeah, thanks. But, so I decided to do something about it. I had a young grandson that was living with us at the time. I think I got to be there for this kid here, and I couldn't even breathe anymore. So again, gastric bypass. If you can't lose weight, it is the best surgery, and just make sure you have the best doctors working around you.
Communicating. Yeah. But from a business perspective, you had people run it for you, and then when you came to, you were able to jump back and.
So
take the reins
this
again, right?
lady, Patty Powers, was a blessing. She was my marketing girl at the time, and she basically took the reins and said, okay, my wife said, I'll make sure everything's going smooth. And so for like a year and a half, she kind of like kept things, coasting. I was I didn't want a lot of people to know what was was going on. Business is dirty.
You gotta keep
it's a dirty game, man.
Yeah.
So we kept it on the hush hush a little bit, and then the whole Lancer thing saved my life in a lot of ways because I had to put together an office for the Lancers. Well, that same office became the girl handling tickets. Next thing you know, Donna Wasborp, she was a genius when it came to legal stuff. So she took over the legal stuff. And then I mentioned Kayla Kent before. Kayla took over a lot of our CFO stuff. And Ashley took over the marketing stuff. And Rich was just running the soccer team, and they were like, doing both. So I was just coasting because I didn't know a lot, and I had to play along.
Right.
I had to play along like I knew what was going on, but I really didn't know a lot of things that was going on. But they kept it going. At the time, my son was really too young to really kind of take charge. So my staff at the time, 4 amazing women, just took charge and ran with it. And slowly, I was learning things, and the things I learned, I got really good at. And things I could learn, I got really good at, and I focused on that. But to this day, Kayla and Ashley kind of handled it. It's a 2-man team right now in the office. They handle everything that I can't figure out to handle. And my son handles the restaurant side of it, because obviously when you lose your memory, you lose how to make a pizza. You lose, you can't walk into a pizzeria and be the founder of a company and can't figure out how to spin a pizza and all that.
Right.
And I was intimidating for me to kind of like, so I kept a back seat to the stores. And I look at it as the store owner is the face of the store, not me. I'm the marketing face. The store owner is the face to the employees and to the customers of that location. So I don't visit the stores a lot. I don't spend a lot of time in stores. We just look at numbers. Numbers go up, baby, you're doing good. Numbers go down. Ashley and Kayla, they attack.
You do the marketing. Keep your finger on the pulse of the spreadsheets. Keep on moving forward.
That's it.
And well, there's some great leadership lessons in there too, because you talk about like hiring incredible people and letting them do their thing, right? So there's a saying, set up systems so that you can inspect what you expect. So it seems like you're doing that, right?
Yes.
And the other one is delegate, don't abdicate. So you've delegated great, but you still know what's going on. You haven't abdicated like, oh, everything's fine, right? Like it seems like you still keep your finger on the pulse and know what's going on, but you're staying in your lane at this point of what you do best, which is the marketing, right?
Yeah.
And being the face of Salvatore too. So
and I throw wacky ideas at them 24/7. I'm on the phone with them all day long, and I do my best to, but we're more of a family. I mean, Ashley has 2 children. I'm one of her child's godfather.
Oh, that's awesome.
Kayla's kids call me Papa. I have 10 of my own grandkids, and my son Silvio has 4 of his own. So I mean, it's a family operation. My grandson Santino is our oldest in our family. He went to Fisher. Now he's ready to kind of like move on and own his own store. My niece Erin's kind of coming into the mix a little bit and learning. So we're trying to keep it a family business. We've brought in outsiders to help us and consultants and people that kind of teach us things that we don't know. But the day-to-day stuff is still family. And the guy working the store, man, the guy's still working 60 hours a week. He's got to have a significant partner, wife or husband that's going to let them do their thing, because it's a tough business, especially today. Getting employees is a challenge. Keeping employees is difficult. A lot of people, you don't go to college, you work in a pizzeria.
Right.
It's a temporary gig, so to make young kids realize this could be a permanent gig, it's a challenge. Where back in the day, they would see the success and then they wanted their own store. Now young kids see how hard it is and they don't want anything to do with it. So it's a challenge.
A little bit different. Well, I go to the one in Victor quite often. I'm always amazed at how many items on the menu you have. For me, it's overwhelming. I'm like, how do they keep track of all this stuff? Like you have so much, right? Because it's just not pizza and wings anymore, right? There's so much. But somehow you guys pull it off, because every time I get something there, it's delicious. So
thank you. Yeah, we break it down into categories. There's 12 appetizers. There's 3 burgers and different ways to do them. And but they figure it out and it works out.
And you guys are very. This is a great thing to say too. You guys are very involved in the community, right? So I've done some things in Victor where we needed donations, we needed sponsorships, things like that, and they've always been great. They've always done something, even if it's like some type of coupon giveaway type of thing. And I think that just further kind of cements your Rochester relationship with what you're doing in our community.
Yeah, the stores do their own thing in their own little areas. We focus hard on Camp Good Days and Special Times. That's the charity of choice, and Breast Cancer Coalition. We started those pink boxes years ago. It was Patty's idea. We're doing it for the month of October. Someone in my office said, hey, box companies give us a hard time because we're not using enough, or they're stuck with them until the next year. What do we do? And why don't we make, every day should be Breast Cancer Awareness Day. And we started doing the pink box. It took off. Now we have the pink theme in our stores. But Breast Cancer Coalition and Camp Good Days are 2 main charities of choice. We do a lot with Gallisanos Children's Hospital, but all the local stuff, from the baseball teams to the soccer teams to Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and or Scouts in general, I should say. The stores do themselves.
That's great. Well, I came in with a different shirt on today, different color, but I have some shirts in the closet. And because you were coming in, I'm going to put my pink shirt on today.
Love it.
So because you're so involved with breast cancer. And Camp Good Day is one of my favorite charities too. Gary Mervis, dear friend. His daughter Teddy was actually in my grade when she passed away. We did the first fundraiser back in 1984 at Pittsburgh Mendon Center High School, or junior high. And we did a marathon dance. And we raised $1,000 to help them open up the camp. And now, my Steve, who's our producer over there, hi Steve. We rode our bikes around Cuca Lake last summer for the Tour de Teddy. 44 miles, I think. So
they do the work of God. That whole group, what they do. I've been there when they had kids from all over the world come there for soccer week or international week, and obviously soccer is a big sport in other countries. We would bring the Rhinos there when I was with the Rhinos. That's how I met Gary and Wendy, and then we started doing it with the Lancers. My wife and I have been there multiple times, and my staff. They're just amazing people.
Yep, very much so. So I want to end this with 2 things. The first thing is, any advice for people, could be a young person or just a young entrepreneur, meaning like you could be 50 and it's your first business. What advice are you going to give for people starting out these days?
The harder you work, the easier it gets. It's just, that's the bottom line. It's like if you get up before everyone else, you go to bed after everybody else, and you learn as much as you can, whatever business you're in, you're gonna exceed at it. And you gotta I think a lot of people in business don't figure out that it's really about the customer. It's not about the employee, and it's not about the owner. It's about the customer experience. And you just got to put yourself in that customer's shoes. And how do you make that business as easy as possible and as pleasant as possible for that customer?
Yeah.
And that's what that's my biggest advice. Just work harder than everybody else, and focus on the customer. And in my business, we say the customer and the fan.
Yeah.
So it's not about the coach. It's not about sometimes the players. It's about the fan. It's not necessarily about the employees or the owner. It's about the customer. So those are your key ingredients, I think. If you focus on that and just be the best at what you do, man. It's not. I don't do this for money. And I think you mentioned earlier about reading books. A book you read. All those books. None of those guys really got into it. To make money. Yeah. They were into it because they love what they did. Yeah. And if you love what you do, the money part is like almost a bonus.
Yeah, and it comes.
Yeah, right? It comes. But just do what you love. My advice: do what you love, and work harder than everybody else, and you'll be successful. Just like any athlete. The best athlete on the court or on the field is the one that practices the hardest.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to open up 1,000 stores really for the money, because it seems like you're doing okay at this point in your life. But it's more about the game, right? The game of like doing something you love. How far can you take this? That's what I'm sensing with you, right?
Well, that, and honestly, it's about opportunities too, because like a lot of the people that we meet, like yesterday, the doctor Formoso in Florida sends me a picture of his son, last day of school, they have a bike rally. Well, his bike is loaded with Salvatore stuff, pink this, Salvatore t-shirt on, Salvatore hat on. That's what makes me excited, that young kid now feels like he's part of it. He owns a business. Yeah. His 14-year-old son, he's 12 years old. The older one's 14. His 12-year-old son, Teddy, owns a business now. Yeah, yeah. And if we could, have 1,000 stores where people that maybe struggled and couldn't, didn't have the best employers most of their lives, they worked in the restaurant business but weren't treated properly, whatever the case may be, you can be self-employed. Yeah. We can help make that happen. I can help make that happen. Yeah. And you can live that American dream and that's what turns me on more than anything right now. It's not about how much I'm going to make. It's about how easy your life could be by you being part of this team. I love it. If people want to learn more about joining your team, expanding, what's the best way to reach out? Salvatores.com. Salvatores.com. There's a franchise thing there. You go on to it. It's a little informational thing. We'll get back to you. I personally get back to you. I answer all customer questions, concerns. I take care of it all still to this day. It comes on my cell phone. I answer them right away. Oh, good for you. I love doing that. I like to feel what's going on. No matter what store you get from, you say you go to the Victor store. If you said, hey, I went to the Victor store, it was 11 o'clock and they weren't open yet, boom, boom, boom. And I'm calling, hey, where are you? It doesn't happen there, but I'm just saying, that's my job. So that's a part of my job I do love doing still. I feel like I have a purpose. Yeah, well, you do, a big purpose. And you call everybody Kuji. Kuji, you're my Kuj. You're Kuj, that's cousin, right? It's the Eastridge High School thing where guys that were like Italian American or thought they were Italian American would call each other Kuj or Kuji. And then it stuck. And then one time I started on the radio commercial. And all of a sudden I'm at Wegmans and got my card. Hey, what's a Kuji, by the way? So I'm thinking, hey, it's working. The marketing's working. So we just went with it. Now I just call everybody Kuji, and I have it on a plate. One of my cars, Kuji. So I love it. Because in Italian, Cugino. Yeah, it's Cugino. Cousin, right? It's short for Cugino. What Italian lessons say? Hey, how you doing? Excellent. Well, Soccer Sam, Salvatore, right, Sam? So many different great names. Thank you so much for being on the show. Totally appreciate it. And like I said, the journey has been incredible, not only for you and your family and everybody that you're affecting and all the jobs and opportunities you've created for people and stomachs that you've made happy, but just Rochester in general. It's people like you, like I choose to live here in Rochester because there's so many great things going on here. And stories and people like you are definitely one of them, because I'm not gonna get all these experiences in different cities. So again, thanks for doing what you're doing. Thank you for having me. I'm honored. I would love to end the show with you doing your, you know what? Salvatore.com. Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you. Take care, David. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day, and make sure to stay awesome.